From developer WayForward and publisher Atari comes Yars Rising, a 2D action exploration game that combines elements of classic Atari arcade titles with an anime art style. And there's a bit of Metroidvania flair thrown on top of that, with a nice, decent portion of mystery and intrigue thrown into this concoction. But is this reinvention of the Yars franchise out of this world? Or does it crash and burn on impact? Well, let's find out in our full review. Real quick, before the Echo Chamber blasts us with their Zorlon cannon, do yourself a solid and like the video. Subscribe to this channel if you love indie content, and check us out at patreon.com/idreamofindiegames, where you can net yourself amazing perks like early and ad-free shows, exclusive content, and access to our amazing Discord community. Fight for indie visibility and join us today. We can't wait to meet you. If you're unfamiliar with the source material, Atari released a game called Yars Revenge in 1982 on the Atari 2600, and it was met with mixed reviews. Sure, the graphics are simplistic in the same way all games were of this decade, but the game included a comic. It's gotta get points for that, right? The basic premise is that an alien race called Yars, which evolved from the common housefly, have the power to devour various substances and convert them into energy. These Yars are peaceful until they fall under attack from their nemesis, the Kotile. Playing as a Yar, you take down the enemy Kotile shields by either shooting or devouring them, and then destroy your enemies with your powerful Zorlon cannon. Despite its simplicity, over time gamers and critics alike came to look upon Yars Revenge fondly, and its legacy has inspired many other games, including a remake in 2011 for the Xbox and Yars Recharged in 2022 for all platforms. Yars Rising is not like those games. Here you'll play as a 23-year-old hacker named Emi Yars Kimura, who is hired to go undercover at a tech company called Kotek to breach their systems and find out what kind of shady activity is really going down. Emi herself has some pretty interesting backstory to her, with an unusual tattoo on her wrist. Ugh, you gotta stop drinking all the time. Or wasn't that more Sharpie stuff on your face? Either way, maybe it's a birthmark, maybe it's something else. I don't know, you'll have to play and find out through hacking and detective work while you break down various terminals that will grant you passage deeper into the building and even unlock abilities and enhancements for Emi herself. What starts off as a rather monotonous day at the office for Emi very quickly becomes an exhausting adventure filled with mystery, danger, and intrigue around every corner. What is Kotek hiding? Who is really in charge of this enigmatic organization? And why is Emi able to augment her body with these otherworldly abilities? Of course I'm not going to tell you. What I can share with you is the breakdown of gameplay that you can expect here. Much of your time will be spent navigating through Kotek and beyond with a Metroidvania-style map and run-and-gun combat. Emi begins defenseless with only a jump and crawl to traverse the labyrinthian corridors of this organization. As you make your way from room to room, location to location, you'll come across terminals for Emi to breach, which brings us to our second mode of gameplay, hacking, in the form of Yars Revenge minigames. These minigames will typically involve some combination of breaking down shields, collecting energy and firing the Zorlon cannon, dodging various missiles, collecting keys, destroying enemies, basically something Atari themed. Failing a challenge will send you out of the terminal and deplete some of Emi's health. While these minigames aren't the kind of difficult that will make a Souls fan drool, they can be challenging in the sense that one hit will send you back to the beginning of the challenge, and there's a lot of different rules and mechanics to keep track of, with intensity building over time. If you do find yourself overly challenged or just over the hacking mechanic in general, an invincibility option can be toggled on for these terminals. This invincibility won't prevent Emi from taking damage if you fail, nor will it stop the ever-present timer on these challenges, but it will prevent you from taking hits from missiles and swirls while you're trying to aim your Zorlon cannon at a moving target. Successfully breaching these terminals will do one of a few things: open new pathways for Emi to explore more of the map, or grant Emi augments or biohacks. These augments include new abilities like Grasshopper Legs to wall jump, and the Zorlon Shot to zap enemies that stand in your way, while the Biohack accessories can grant Emmy enhancements like extra health and faster shots. These accessories can be equipped from an in-game Tetris-like menu with 45 total to collect. You'll need to choose which enhancements are most valuable to your style of gameplay. One of my personal favorite accessories was the earbud, which displayed info on each of the tracks playing. But we'll get to the music section a little later, I promise. When you're not hacking into the mainframe or whatever else, your combat is pretty standard, with most enemies only taking a couple of those Zorlon shots to defeat. There is a fair amount of platforming as well, with lasers to gracefully dodge, and some stealth sections included where you'll need to sneak past guards and hide in dark doorways, which are never my forte, but they weren't half bad here. Hell, there are even a few bosses to take on that may ring some bells for Atari fans.
It's kinda unfair to keep flying where I can't hit you.
By design, I have no interest in fighting fair.
While the platforming wasn't always the smoothest, particularly due to Emmy failing to effectively grab ledges she could clearly reach, and ducking to dodge enemy shots causing her to descend through the floor instead of crouch, exploration itself is quite fun, as is collecting the accessories. Bosses can be bested with just a little patience and pattern recognition, often encouraging you to use a recently required augmentation. Save locations are spaced out decently well throughout the map, so you'll never find yourself losing too much progress with a death, though I did still appreciate having the option to turn on invincibility for the hacking segments so a frustrating minigame wouldn't send me backtracking. There's a nice cyberpunk anime style to the graphics that I greatly enjoyed, with a color scheme that allows the retro pixel art segments to shine. From the cold, sterile walls of the office to the purple cityscape, you'll explore a variety of backdrops with glowing barriers and bullets to add that neon shine. There are a few cutscenes which are told via animated comic panels with a slightly different style to them. Though they weren't as lively as I would have liked them to be, I certainly understand the constraints of working with an indie budget, and I appreciate how the comic style is a nod to the original Yars title, and the sound design breathes more life into everything. In fact, the whole Yars package has a light cartoony feel to it that made me feel like I was watching an episode of Totally Spies or something in that space. From the character art to the voice acting and sound effects, that's all I could think of, and it jived really well together. Voice acting is great, particularly for Emmy, who you'll hear the most of anyway, and the soundtrack is on point as well, with a variety of upbeat bumpin' tracks, including the likes of Megan McDuffie, who you may recognize from other WayForward titles. River City Girls, anyone? Perhaps you heard of it? If not, check those games out too, they're really fun. Alright, honestly, I had no idea what to expect when I heard there was a new Yars-inspired game dropping, but this was the last thing I would have predicted. The crisp anime aesthetic paired with the pixel-heavy hacking minigames is a nice mashup, with some really fun nods to the original title and other Atari properties that will make anyone nostalgic for that era a little bit misty-eyed. The platforming could use a bit of tightening, but a decent map and the joy of discovery often make up for some of the game's small missteps. While the hacking minigames can wear on you over time, the option to toggle on invincibility puts a damper on that frustration. So overall, Yars Rising is a product that surprised me in a great way. But let's see what the final verdict is, because of course here at I Dream of Indie Games, we believe games are so much more than a number. That's why we have our wonderful 3 Genie Lamp tier system for reviewing. A bronze lamp is considered a good game with quite a few issues. A silver lamp is a great game with very few issues. It's so damn close to the golden Genie Lamp of approval, which is an essential indie release. We also have the rusty lamp for those games that are pretty mediocre but have a faint glimmer of hope, and the indie Krampus. You don't want to get that one, trust me. And with all of that said, I'm going to have to award Yars Rising the silver Genie Lamp of approval. WayForward once again proved that they can, in fact, hack it.
Alien Scorpion. Why not?